Check me. It's deeper than cold. Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome back to It's Deeper Than Code. I am Chrissy. This is Big Poppa Code, and we are here with a very, very, very special guest, Dr. Umar.
Peace and Pan-Africanism. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Princess and King. It's an honor to be here on the Big Poppa Code.
All right, let's just jump right into it. Actually, please give us an introduction.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Umar Ifatunde, Doctor of Clinical Psychology, Certified School Psychologist, Therapist, Political Scientist, Author, and Pan-Africanist. I guess I'm most proud of that. Pan-Africanist, trying to unify, organize African people around the world. That's my life's mission and work.
Yes. We're just so happy to have you. So thank you so much again. So you can kick it off, Arthur.
Yeah, definitely. And before we jump in, in case we have any new people, this is our season premiere of season 3. And, what we like to talk about on here, we like to talk about technology, we like to talk about the future. We like to talk about my 2032 thesis. Won't go into it now, but there's a lot of demographic and technological shifts that are occurring over the next 7 to 8 years. And we want, people to be prepared, especially our community, so that they can thrive in that new environment. And we're going to get Dr. Umar's thoughts on some of the things that entails. So let me ask my first question. So, Dr. Umar. So I often, on the podcast, talk about the civil rights movement a lot.
Yes, sir.
Because there was a lot of power that, that we ended up gaining from, all of the work that our ancestors did, our elders did, that are still with us today. But there was a lot of, seems to me a lot of the time that there's a lot of economic power that we kind of lost after integration. Yes, and I'm just very curious about your opinion on that. And does that affect the way you think about Black business today?
That is a great question. And by the way, Dr. King is a very big hero of mine. Even though he wasn't a Pan-Africanist, he's still a hero because he gave us our last significant movement for social change in this country. There's been no Black leader since King, if you think about it, that has done anything of significance to try to transform the reality for Black folks. He's the last one. And it's been almost 50 years. In addition to that, Dr. King was born into a very well-to-do family. He could have easily fallen back and became a megachurch minister. He had the oratory, he had the education, and instead he chose to fight for the people and ultimately give his life. And so for that, he'll always be one of my greats. Normally when I come to Atlanta, I haven't had a time this time, but normally when I come to Atlanta, I'll go to the Dr. King Shrine and just sit there and meditate for a little bit. So I want to say that. The other thing I want to say, heading towards the answer to your question, is we have to recognize that the Civil Rights Bill of 64 does not fall under human rights law. It falls under antitrust law because the Civil Rights Bill was not about justice. It was about opening up the Black market to exploitation by American capitalists. They wanted to liberate the Black dollar for white exploitation because the segregated Black dollar, by consequence, empowered Black people to a point that we became a financial threat to America. So if you look at Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Rosewood, Wilmington, because we were not allowed to participate in mainstream society, we had to keep our money to ourselves. And as you know, necessity is the mother of invention.
Exactly.
Since I can't shop with the whites, I have to build my own. I can't sleep at their hotel. I have to create my own. So the American social order didn't realize by not allowing Black people to participate, you're number one, forcing them to create their own reality. And number two, you're helping them keep their money to themselves. So from a financial perspective, segregation benefited Black people more than the power structure. Socially, though, it benefited the power structure more. Because when we would venture out of our Black community, now you're in enemy territory. You could get lynched. You could get arrested. You could get shot for being in the wrong place. So Dr. King, they had to fight and tear down the walls of segregation. But that economic benefit that segregation afforded to us, we lost it and we've never gotten it back. Now, in defense of Dr. King, because you hear a lot of people blame him and they say Dr. King is the reason We don't have anything of our own because he made us segregate. First of all, the United States government never integrated anybody by force. Let me say this again. No one was ever integrated by force. They only desegregated. That means we're going to remove the legal barrier of access. You see that?
Yes.
To integrate, I'm going to guarantee your participation. The government has never guaranteed our participation. Desegregation, there's nothing on paper keeping you out. You see the difference?
Yes.
There's a big difference there. So the government never integrated, it only desegregated. And the reason Dr. King cannot be made the scapegoat or the fall guy for why we have lost our economic power is because, number one, Dr. King was only fighting for access to opportunity and resources. Dr. King never told Black people to give up your Black communities. He never told Black people to give up your Black schools. He never told Black people to give up your hospitals, your supermarkets, and so forth. We gave them up because we wanted access to white society. We wanted proximity to whiteness, and we still do and don't like to admit it, right? So Dr. King was only saying, I'm tearing this down. So if we do need to send one of our students to Harvard to get a particular education because the HBCU doesn't offer it, we can. See that? If I need you to go get training for a particular area and no HBCU is offering it, you should be able to. It was about access to the opportunity and the resource. It wasn't about completely abdicating and giving up your own community and running to be with the whites. And if you listen to Dr. King's message, particularly during the last 2 years of his life, he's very clear about protecting Black institutions. And he's already dead by the time desegregation gets implemented. Remember, first you get the law, and then it takes a couple years for them to give you the policy that supports the law.
Right.
Dr. King is dead before the implementation of the Civil Rights Bill anyway. So the reason we gave up our schools, our banks, our hospitals, our supermarkets isn't because of Dr. King. It's because we always wanted acceptance by Caucasians. In other words, we don't solve the economic devastation of Black America if you don't deal with the psychological dependency we have on white people's approval. They go hand in hand. Now, the gains. Why was Dr. King assassinated? Dr. King was assassinated on April the 4th, 1968 at the Divine Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee, because Dr. King's next movement was a movement for economic justice and the redistribution of wealth. Dr. King was about to lead a breadbasket campaign. He was going to take poor Americans of every race to the front of the White House lawn. They was going to erect a tent city throughout D.C. Nobody was leaving unless they left with a job and a home. It was revolution. He would have embarrassed the United States government. They couldn't allow it. That's why he was murdered. He was not murdered for integration. He was murdered for economic empowerment. Remember, there's only 2 Black leaders you had who were more popular than the President of the United States, who was in office at the time they lived, Frederick Douglass. More popular than Lincoln and Dr. King. More popular than JFK and Lyndon Baines Johnson. They had to kill him because he was too globally violent, that had he went to DC and had he been given an opportunity to initiate that economic justice campaign, America may have been forced to restructure the way society operates.
And my question, why hasn't that been done then since? Because
you got to be willing to die if you're going to change a system, especially for the benefit of Black people. And Dr. King is the last significant leader we had who was willing to give his life for that transformation. Now, you had the Black Panthers and you had the Black Liberation Army. They were willing to die too, and many of them did, right?
Right.
They were younger, more radical. Dr. King was a little bit more acceptable because he was more diplomatic. They were uncompromising. Make no mistake, if I have a choice between the Panthers and Dr. King, I would have ended up with the Panthers as well. You follow me?
Yeah.
I would have ended up in the BLA as well. But we needed them both.
Right.
But to your point, you don't have uncompromising leadership because Black America doesn't create it. A big difference between us and every other community in this country, they make their leaders. We pray for ours. Asians, they train them. Caucasians, they train them. Jews, they train them. Arabs, they train them. Black people, we go to church, mosque, get on our hands and knees and ask God to send us another leader. To that point, a big mistake we make as a race is we try to solve our political and economic problems with religious philosophy, and it hasn't served us well. The reason we pray for our leaders is because that's the religious influence. God sent Abraham, God sent Jesus, God sent Moses, God sent Muhammad. You see that? So even when we come into the secular world, we're still using religious beliefs to help us solve our secular problems. You can't do that. You can't wait on God. First of all, even if you're waiting on God, those prophets were what? Hundreds of years apart. Right. Some of them were hundreds of years apart. Mm-hmm. So if you are going to follow that, that means you ain't getting another Dr. King for another 300 years. We can't afford that. So we have to wake up. And I have no issue with religion. I only have an issue with how religion can be used by some people to solve certain problems, right? As long as your religion doesn't blind you to the realities that Black people face, I don't have an issue with it. But I will say that we have been misserved, not just church. When I say church, I'm speaking collectively of all Black religion, because I believe all Black religion has kept Black people from really approaching their problems with the urgency that it needs, because we're always expecting someone else to come and solve our problems for us. And that's why it was so easy for us to segue from the plantation to the church, because both of them have an external locus of control. On the plantation, the slave master is responsible for you. In the church, Jesus is responsible for you. Mm. When do we become responsible for ourselves?
That's deep.
Anything that teaches you that your solution has to come from outside of you is not on your side. Religion teaches you that the solution has to come from outside of you. I believe in God as much as anybody, but guess what? My approach to supreme consciousness and spirituality is that the God I serve has already given me what I need to solve my problems. So there's no need to be looking outside of me now. I already have it. The technology to solve my problems came with me when my mother pushed me out. You understand that? Yeah. So there's no need for me to be waiting on Jesus or Muhammad or anybody, because everything I needed to succeed on this planet was already put inside me when I arrived. And that's the way we should approach our problems. Waiting for external intervention is a recipe for disaster. Slavery, Frederick Douglass and others argued, slavery would have ended about 100 years sooner if Black people stopped waiting on God to come and save them. It wasn't until we woke up and said, you know what, we're going to have to end slavery with our own hands. It would have ended sooner, but you had so many preachers who was telling Black folks, revolution ain't the way. Mm-hmm. Wait on God. And it wasn't until you had a groundswell in the 1800s with Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman and Martin Delany and all of them and said, nah, we got to do this. And that's when it broke.
Mm-hmm. Because to your point, God put that in them.
God put it. It's all in us. Yeah. It is in us.
And it was already written.
It was already written. We have to manifest it, though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that old adage, faith without works is dead. And
faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. And to your point, here's where we are stuck in the quicksand. The question Black people have to ask, and this is December. December is pivotal for us. Why? Because the 13th Amendment was ratified in December, right? December 6th, it was ratified. December 18th, the Secretary of State, William Seward, read the 13th Amendment to the people, making it official, right? So that's December. That's 159 years ago. Even with all the racism we faced, shouldn't we be further along than we are after 159 years?
Yes.
And the reason we aren't, particularly in the post-Dr. King era, is because Black people don't want to weaponize their dollars to benefit their political and economic agenda. We will vote. We will march. We will pray. We will not use our money to empower ourselves. We beg the government for what we need, and we spend our money on what we want. What are we doing right now? Shopping for Christmas. Black America is about to spend at least $66 million on Christmas gifts. Mm-hmm. How can you afford to do that without a single hospital that you own in this country? We don't own and operate a single hospital. Yes, you have HBCUs that operate hospitals, but they're funded by Caucasians. They're not independent. Mm-hmm. How you ain't got a single Black hospital when we once owned and operated 500 in 400 years? That means Black people in America opened up a hospital, more than one hospital a year, for almost 400 years on average. You ain't got one now. Supermarkets, you might have 2 dozen. Independent schools, you might have 2 dozen. Black banks, you might have 2 dozen. And when you talk about black banks that actually invest in poor black communities, you don't have any. So without no infrastructure, how are you going to catch up to the Mexicans who build in their infrastructure? The Chinese who build in their infrastructure, the East Indians who build in their infrastructure, the Latinos who build in their infrastructure. We will never catch up until we start using our money to fund our liberation. And then that takes us to reparations, because you have a lot of black folks saying, well, once we get our reparations, we'll be all right. And don't get me wrong, I support reparations. Pan-Africanists gave birth to reparations, right? But here's my thing. Do you really think white folks about to really give you what you are owed for 246 years of unpaid labor and dehumanization?
No.
People have fought wars. Check this. People have fought wars for less resources than what we are entitled to. Think about that now. Every war has been fought over resource. And every war was fought over an amount of resources that's less than what the American government owe us. So if these people had to die to get it, what makes you think they're just going to sign it on over because you said they were wrong? It's not going to happen that way. Black people will get reparations, but we will only get reparations after we liberate ourselves. Internal reparations must precede external reparations. This is the conversation that the reparationists, and I'm a reparationist, but this is the conversation that the reparationists don't want to have. You don't get from the government until you do for yourself. Until we spend the $2 trillion we got productively, you'll never get nothing from the government. They'll laugh at you every day. And added to that is my belief that I don't think the current American African right now, the 50 million of us walking this earth right now, and this isn't true for everybody, but by and large, at least 40 million of the 50 million American Africans in this country are not responsible and serious enough to use that reparations payout the way it should be anyway.
Yeah,
you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, that might be going pretty quick.
Yeah.
First of all, this is the least. We have the lowest amount of racial consciousness of any generation. I'm gonna go century. You got the 17th century, 18th century Africans, 19th century American Africans, 20th century American Africans. We're the 21st century American Africans. Every century of American Africans before our own had more racial consciousness and solidarity than we do, even in slavery. Even in slavery, they had more racial consciousness and solidarity than we have. We can fight for the reparations, but I don't want us receiving it. Put the reparations in a trust somewhere until a more responsible generation of black people come along who know what to do with it. Because we'll take that money and we will waste it.
Absolutely.
There will be 85 Bentleys outside.
Man, what?
Do you know that there's an Asian organization that was founded to help black people fight for reparations?
Oh, really?
Why would Asians start an organization to help you fight for reparations? This is true. Look it up. You know why?
Why?
Because guess where your money going to go after you get the reparations?
Yep.
It's going to go to China.
Yep.
Think about it.
Wow.
Nah.
Until you change the way black people think, you don't change anything else about black people. This is where we mess up, because people got on me. They say, you raise all this money for this school. Don't we need a military? Don't we need this? You're missing the point. You're putting the cart before the horse. If I don't change the way black children think, I don't change black America.
Absolutely.
The mind is where we're messed up. This is what's toxic. Notice, we have every resource we need to solve every problem we have. We got all the PhDs, we got all the MDs, we got the JDs, we got the money, we got the know-how, we got it all. What is the one thing we lack? The psychological commitment to ourselves to do the work. We got everything you need to solve a problem. If Mexicans had what black people have, imagine where they would be. And they already doing well, right?
Right.
If the Latinos have what the American Africans have, imagine where they would be. And they're already doing well. Give any other group the resources we have, and look what they do for themselves in 10 years. Do you feel me? In 10 years, they'll be done. And look at us. We still trying to figure it out because we don't have the psychological commitment. We are not committed to liberation. Most American Africans are psychologically devastated, and most of us have already been conquered. The average black person does not believe it is possible to, number one, overcome racism, and number two, organize black people in a meaningful way.
And it's interesting you say that, because I would like to stay on that for a little bit, because one of the next things I want to talk about was the work that, for example, my mentor Jeff Nelson is doing with Blavity and Afrotech.
Yes, sir.
Morgan DeBond, what she's doing, what Aaron has done, with that. And then also, some of the work that, that we've seen a lot of these leaders like EYL, et cetera, like we're trying to do what they're trying to teach the youth about financial literacy, teach them about, how to start businesses, how to do those things. So I think like some of the work that Earn Your Leisure is doing, some of the work that Blavity and Afrotech and what they're trying to do, they have that same mission. And of course I know, Jeff personally, so I've heard him talk behind the scenes on like what his really like big end goal is. And it's very much aligned.
But you know what though? Like one thing, it needs to be taught in house as well, where you're spending your money. Not just about like getting more, where to put like I can be honest, I've never had a conversation with my father, my mother of like, let's only buy black.
Right, because you have to cycle the dollars. It doesn't matter how much money comes into the black community. It's how much we keep.
But my father is a black king. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like he taught me that from day one. But I mean, that's just like, his upbringing and also my
But it's
mother's
not community-wide, though.
It's not community-wide.
It needs to be for the future generations to be able to actually have, like, successfully do what we need to do.
And see, when you talk about the tech space, right? And as an educator, I'm going to go science, technology, engineering, and math. And I'm going to add the finance, right? Here's what I want to say. With these emerging technologies, this is one of the first industries where Black people have the opportunity to almost come in on the ground level.
Exactly.
And create a roadmap for ourselves in an industry that we control where we can compete equitably with the other races who are also in the STEM area, right? Most industries were already created before we came to them. You follow what I'm saying? We coming late. Real estate, you coming late. Entertainment, you coming late. They were already there. You had to force your way in. With these emerging technologies, we're walking in the door at the same time.
Exactly.
Here's 4 concerns that I have. Number 1, to what you just said, are we making sure that the money that comes into the Black community from these emerging technologies stays in the Black community? It don't matter how much comes in if it goes right back out. How do we trap the money in the community? That's 1. Number 2, are we practicing racial consciousness in these emerging technologies? And what I mean by that, are we doing what we do in the everyday markets where I'm going to go hire a bunch of Mexicans because I think they work harder. I'm going to go get a bunch of Asians because I think they smarter. I'm going to go against a bunch of white people because I can trust them better than my own people. Are we making sure that the people we're training and hiring look like us?
Just like to your point earlier.
Yes. Because if you don't, we're going to lose this market too.
Exactly.
Look at hair care, right? How is it that Black people consume more hair care products than any other group per capita, but the Koreans produce everything? You know why? This beauty salon was too busy competing with this beauty salon. And this barbershop was too busy competing with this barbershop. And the Koreans just looked at it and said, they don't work together. So why don't we just create the products and sell it to all of them? Because they're never going to stop competing long enough to realize that they can take over the whole market if they work together. Collaboration over conflict. We haven't got the message yet. So when you bring up the Afrotech, the Blavity, all these different tech leading agencies, are they building a solid enough foundation between themselves to make sure no one from outside the Black community can come in and exploit us for their own personal gain? Because with these emerging technologies, you're talking about, here's what makes the emerging technologies so unique. You're not selling a tangible per se. It's all technology. You follow what I'm saying? It's not a car. It's not a house. Yeah. So there's no limit to how much you can make from it. So with that type of volume of sales, of capital, are we making sure that we have built a Black fence around this Black technology so our community can eat off it forever? Let's go to social media. When I look at social media, I see a new slave plantation because we on YouTube, but we don't own it. We on Facebook, Instagram, we don't own it. Are we thinking about creating platforms that can compete with every single major mainstream platform? And why am I saying this? Because our people disproportionately use social media.
Mm-hmm.
We disproportionately play video games.
We
disproportionately use cell phones. We disproportionately do everything in tech.
Mm-hmm.
So if Black people are spending more time and more money on tech per capita than anybody else, why don't we have our own platforms? Do we just want a piece of it, or do we want to dominate it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a decision we have to make.
You're on fan base, right?
Yes.
And so have you ever actually sat down and spoke to Isaac Hayes?
I have. He's spoken with my assistant, but not directly to me.
Yeah, I definitely would recommend have a conversation with him.
Okay.
Because he was building at the same time we were.
Okay.
So I know what his long-term plan is.
Okay.
And he's very much aligned with where you're trying to go. There are people scattered that have the vision. It's a matter of getting them all.
The key word was scattered.
Exactly.
You got it. Because one thing about all the other groups, even if the Asians are scattered, they are always conscious of making sure whatever you do doesn't exceed what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Do you follow me?
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that. Too often we look at the bottom line financial gain for ourselves and not what the ultimate long-term benefit is to the community. So when I look at these emerging technologies, I'm like, okay, there needs to be a conference, some sort of a think tank for everybody who has emerging technology niche. And how are we going to keep this all Black? And how are we going to use it to benefit Black people? Because let me also throw this at y'all.
Mm-hmm.
AI. And I didn't know this. I learned this. Do you know that these large non-Black AI companies are farming out their work to African countries where they got African people making $2 an hour in order to Photoshop, identify, and categorize all the various archetypes that are needed for the AI programs in order to work effectively.
They train the models.
I just saw this the other day. It was a whole investigative report on how Africans are the bread and butter of AI because they're the ones who are cataloging and labeling and, taking the pic. Yes. Yes. And they're making $2 an hour before taxes to do this work. And what the researcher said was, you can't really sue the big AI companies because they don't deal with the workers directly. They get a temp agency.
Oh.
You see that?
Yeah.
And a temp agency goes throughout Africa and they basically create what they call AI slave farms. AI slave farms. And you walk into a building and it's 50 rooms with 50 people in each one. And they doing all the little basic little things that are needed in order for AI to function, to build on. Because somebody got to do that work. And they're using Africans to do it. So we have to make sure our people don't get exploited in this process as well.
Exactly.
We could do the same thing, go to Africa, offer a better wage, a livable wage. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I look at this emerging technology thing, yes, it's about the technology, but you can literally transform the quality of life for Black people around the world if we do it right. Because we're coming in on the ground level with everybody else. Are we going to make sure we don't make the same mistakes we did with every other industry that we tried to penetrate?
100%. And what you said is 100% true. I was just working with a company, Meaningful Gigs, and their founder, Ronnie Kwesi Coleman, he's from Ghana.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, so I was working for him. Ended up not working out that I could work with them long term, but that's fine. Okay. But I was working with them on building some AI stuff, etc. But what their company specifically does is their whole entire business is around getting Africans meaningful gigs, basically getting them paid the way that they should get paid for the level of work that they can provide, for the level of value they can provide. And they work with a bunch of Fortune 500 companies. But here's the problem. like their company is so small, they can only attack such a small piece.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back into when we were talking a little bit before we started the podcast about funding and about venture capital funding, et cetera.
Yes.
There are companies that are similar to them that are in other markets, that are dealing with the Indian community, et cetera,
but they
have
can't
raised
scale
50,
because
60.
they don't have the capital.
It's like they got 50, 60 million, but then this company that I'm talking about, everybody makes a big deal. They were able to raise like 4 or 5 million, but that's it.
They need to scale it.
But they need much more. That's the reason why they're trying to build some of the things that they're trying to build, because they're going to, go for larger rounds and try to raise more capital. Okay. But why is it that vision of what it is that what they're doing, because they're doing a model that they know works, because it's worked for other communities.
Yes, sir.
Why do they only have a couple $1 million?
Because Black people don't like to invest in Black people. The other thing, as we talk about this venture capital idea, concept, movement, we got to understand something. If we have to depend on America's banks for funding, we're never getting funded. Mm-hmm. America's banks know that if they properly fund Black people, we will take over. They know it. Mm-hmm. Public school didn't desegregate because Black kids needed to sit next to white kids in order to learn. Public school desegregated because the Black children were inventing things white children were not even thinking about. The gas mask, the stoplight, the refrigerated truck, the self-lubricating engine. And so the white folks looked at us and said, even though they in that underfunded, dilapidated schoolhouse, do you see what them Black kids are inventing? Mm-hmm. If we don't take control of their education, they will run this country. They integrated us to kill the intellectual genius of African children. You see that?
Yes.
So the banks know if we invest in Black excellence, they'll take over, because everything we get in, we take over, right? Mm-hmm. You
it's been proven.
I don't care if it's golf. I don't care what it is. You let us in it, we're going to take it over. Mm-hmm. Look at all the African children and American African children who are winning in these science contests. We never won before. You know why? Because we never got the opportunity before. Mm-hmm. Soon when you give African people the opportunity, the genius will shine, because we're God's first people. It don't make us better than nobody, but it is quite honest what we can do when we're given an unencumbered opportunity. So the banks are looking at this and they're like, I'm not investing in that tech company. If I invest in that tech company that you named, they will outdo the others, because there's something about the African mind. There's something about those melanated people that when you give them an opportunity that's unencumbered by racism, discrimination, bias, or inequity, they're going to rise to the top. It's what we do. And so we're never going to get the funding from the white banks. We got to get the funding from each other. But I don't think that we have done enough. I'm going to be honest. I don't think we've done enough to go after wealthy Blacks. To get them involved in this, because when you look at emerging technologies, that's not really considered radical right now, right? So we need to go after not just the billionaires, but we need to go after the millionaires, and we need to go after these multi-million-dollar Black companies, where the owners may not be a millionaire, but they have millions in assets. They can invest as well. Black people are going to have to invest in themselves, or we're not going to win. Nobody's going to invest in us more than we're going to invest in ourselves. And this is the perfect time to do it. But with that being said, the everyday American African needs to change his priorities as well, because we can't keep spending $30 billion on hair. We can't keep spending $2 billion on Jordans. We can't keep spending $4 billion on liquor. We can't keep spending $13 billion on video games. We can't keep spending, $42 million on children's cologne. Huh? Like, look, yes, on children's cologne, not even the adults. So look at all the money, $66 million on Christmas. Look at all the money we waste. All that can be going into emerging technologies as well. And then we're going to have to build schools around emerging technology, because the mainstream public schools are not going to give that to our children, but the suburban ones will give it to the white kids. And that's a shame, because Black kids love technology and don't know how to do any of it. As we sit here, half the Black boys in the 4th grade can't read on their grade level, and half the Black boys in America in the 8th grade can't count on their grade level. But they can't wait to get a video game. They can't wait to get a cell phone. But if you tie that to science, if you tie that to math, and they know that if I master this calculus, he gonna show me how to write my own video game Oh, they're going to get ace. Because now you gave them a reason. The problem with America's public education, not to get off topic, but the problem with America's public education, it's not relevant to the learning. Black kids drop out because they don't see the relevancy. But when you go to the suburbs, white kids see the relevancy because they're being taught coding. They're getting the robotics. They're getting the STEM. They're getting the real estate courses. Our kids don't get none of that, and they wonder why they don't come to school. Because they know people with a high school degree who living on the street. So they understand just coming to this class does not necessarily mean I'm gonna be able to pay my bills when I get on the outside. So when I look at this tech thing, it could really transform the world, in the Black world, if the people involved in it really have a heart and a passion for African racial reconstruction. We can win if we do this right and keep it all Black.
100%. That reminds me, if we're talking about, and I really like where you're kind of bringing the conversation, but we're going off what we planned, but I like where we're going with the conversation.
I got you.
And so when it comes to when we get back into education, and of course that's something that's your thing.
Yes, sir.
Right. And how can we get the youth that's like in those in-between years? They've already been, they're at age 13, 14, 15, 16, especially young Black boys. How can we get them to see the value in learning some of these emerging technologies? Because they came out while they were already on a path or whatever the case may be. But you get what I'm saying? Like how do we get them energized and excited about it? The same way they're energized and excited about, I don't know, the NBA or the
But
NFL.
you know what? It's because in the NBA, they have these idols that they look up to, that they want to be. Do we have tech Black men coming to these schools or coming to these places? Yeah.
No, we don't.
I'm going to let you know, I'll go to any school. I'm just saying that.
Right.
All you got to do is ask me. I will not charge you a dime. Just tell me where to show up and I'll talk. But
we need more
I'm
of that.
going to tap into you once we get open. You feel me?
Definitely.
Because I want that coding and that science and that tech in the school. So when the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, and Atlanta ain't it's a less than a 2-hour flight to Philly. And the school is 20 driving minutes from the airport. So we definitely want to do that. But to her point, they're not pushing the men in tech or the women in tech. They're pushing entertainment and athletics. And they push entertainment and athletics intentionally to Black children. Why? Because those are low percentage careers. All of us want to be a rapper, but only one of us going to make it. Right. All of us want to be a football player, but only one of us going to make it. All of us want to be a basketball player, only one of us going to make it. All of us want to be an actor, only one of us going to make it. They love to keep Black children bottlenecked into wanting to become a rapper or an entertainer because they know most of you are not going to make it, and your parents are not going to force you to take a secondary career seriously. So when you fail at your entertainment dream, you're going to end up on a corner with a pack, robbing cars, hustling credit cards. You're going to end up in jail. That's how it is set up. And I blame Black men for it. And I'm going to tell you why. During civil rights, Muhammad Ali lived in the community with Black folks. You know why? Because even though he was Muhammad Ali, white folks won't let him move in their neighborhoods. You follow what I'm saying? Jesse Owens was an Olympic gold medalist, but he had to live in a Black community because white folks didn't let you in. The minute the Fair Housing Act passed, and Dr. King's brother actually is the one responsible for that Fair Housing Act. And then, of course, they murdered him after they murdered Dr. King. And, of course, they murdered Dr. King's mother as well. Once Black men was able to marry white women after the Loving versus Virginia Supreme Court decision, that was 1967, Fair Housing Act, late 60s, early 70s. So I got the right to marry a white woman. And I got the right to move into a white neighborhood. Once Black men got the right to marry white women and they got the right to move into a white neighborhood, Elder, we ran out the Black community and we never looked back.
It was easy.
It was easy. Almost no Black principals live in the Black community no more. Even when I grew up, the Black principals still was in our neighborhood. Like we saw them. Not no more. Not no more. The dentist ain't there. The engineer ain't there. The business owner ain't there. The politician ain't there. Who do Black boys have to look up to who ain't doing something illegal? Only the athletes and entertainers. They got to get them off TV. So the reason everybody want to be Lil Wayne and the reason everybody want to be, who's the top LeBron quarterback? Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Everybody would be
Boo.
LeBron James, Patrick Mahomes, Lil Wayne. Because they don't see any other role models in their life.
Yeah.
They would clearly say, I want to be a coder. But they don't see them. I want to be an engineer. They don't see them. And white society makes sure they don't see them. They keep them trapped in these low percentage careers so they end up in the prisons. But we can change that. And when you say, how do you motivate them? You ain't got to do much motivation. Show them the finished product. When you say, if you learn this, you're going to know how to do that, it's over. You ain't got to convince them. Wait a minute. You tell me if I learn how to do this coding, I can produce my own video game. I can make my own social media. You ain't got to do no convincing. They will master the mathematics. We just got to give them the opportunities. And that's another thing. Until we open our own schools, we're not serious. Because these public schools, they are turning out slaves. Our children are not being taught. Everybody in special ed, everybody on meds. And I'm going to tell you something else. If you had coding in public school, it would reduce the special ed rate.
Yes.
Because a lot of these so-called ADHD kids, they're really geniuses. But there's nothing challenging them enough in the schoolroom. They end up on meds and in special ed because there's nothing for them to do. Let me tell y'all a true story, right? I was a school psychologist at this middle school, Rhodes Middle School, North Philly. This kid came in. He was a dropout in middle school. Dropped out. He came in there. They said, Dr. Johnson, we need you to evaluate him. You know what he told me in my office? This is before I even took out the IQ test. He said, the reason I don't come to school is I'm smarter than everybody in this building. This is a true story. He said, I'm smarter than everybody in this building, including my teachers, and I'm going to show you. I evaluated him. He was 6th or 7th grade. He scored post-high school on everything. IQ, MG. When I went back to the meeting to go over, they said, so what are we going to do about him? I said, honestly, y'all need to graduate him and put him in college. He was, look at the scores. This is a middle school. The boys scoring post-high school. And what a lot of people are not talking about is not the black boy who drops out because he wants to be a gangbanger. The black boy who drops out because I done already mastered everything in that school. They don't talk about that. Remember, the school system is set up to identify children with problems. The school system is not set up to identify children with talent.
You're right.
They ain't got nothing for you. What you got for a kid who's comprehending at a level greater than his own teacher?
And you know what? That I know that firsthand. And I'm gonna tell a story. When I was in 9th grade, I took the SAT in 9th grade, and I passed SAT with flying colors in 9th grade. So I was very bored for the rest of school. So let's just put it that way.
They should have graduated you and just stuck you right in.
I wanted to do that, and apparently that was something that they used to do, but at that point they don't do that anymore. Yeah. So I had to just kind of sit around and wait, and I didn't always do what I was supposed to do. I got it together after I got hit by a car, and then my I kind of had like an epiphany.
I feel you.
And I actually ended up doing like 3 years of school in 1 year. So I went to night school and whatever, and then passed everything with A's. Yeah, and then graduated, and all my teachers were like, "Oh, you could have done that the whole time." I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I've been told them in 9th grade I could have done that, right? But they didn't give me anything to do."
It is very difficult. To your point, it is very difficult for high achieving children to be expected to perform well on work that doesn't challenge them. Do you feel me? Because in their mind, this is school, right? I'm supposed to be learning. So why are you asking me to do busy work that ain't teaching me nothing I don't already know?
I already did this.
And so we blaming kids for the failures of the systems. But with these emerging technologies, because the children love them anyway, man, you bring them into the schools, you'll have all their attention.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly why they never bring them into the schools. We have to open up our own schools. Yep. We have to open up our own schools, and we got the money to do it. When I saw all the schools that they shut down in Chicago, all the schools they shut down in Detroit, all the schools they shut down in Philly, all the schools they shut down in New York, that was a blessing in disguise for Black people. Buy them up. This is the coding school. This is the robotics school. This is the gaming school. You feel me? But because we're not organized, and because we don't use our money for anything except merchandise and partying, you see what I'm saying? That was not a crisis. The public school shut down movement was not a crisis. It was a crisis because we didn't want to use our money to buy the schools.
Mm-hmm. And with the new administration coming in, they have some interesting plans about what they want to do with education.
He want to shut down U.S. Department of Education, But to put that in perspective, and I don't agree with what he's doing, but at the same time, it's going to stop a lot of people from hustling Black children. See, remember, the U.S. Constitution does not contain the word education. It's not in, right? You don't have a federal right to get an education. You have a state right. The feds are only interested in education to the point that they fund programs they want you to participate in and to make sure that in the programs you offer, you are upholding the 14th equal protection of the children. In other words, if you say in Georgia, every child in Georgia has a right to participate in a STEM program, right? But then they find out there's Black kids who are not being allowed the opportunity to participate in STEM. Even though education is not a federal right, the feds have the responsibility of making sure you don't discriminate in the programs you do offer. You see what I'm saying? So the feds only come in to guarantee equal protection, and they come in to pay you to do what they want you to do. For example, special ed is federal. So every child in special ed comes with money. The feds say you can't discriminate against kids with disabilities because you're denying them equal protection. So we're going to come up with a program called special ed, and we're going to give you extra money to make sure that disabled children learn. JROTC, it's federal, right? Nothing in the Constitution say kids got to learn how to be soldiers in high school. So the feds say, if you take this program and teach them how to be soldiers, we're going to give you money. The feds control the school districts through money, because they always willing to pay you if you do what I tell you to do. So what's going to happen when he eliminates the Department of Ed? All that money going to stop. It could be a gift. It could be a curse. It could be a gift because we know most Black kids in Atlanta in special ed, not because they can't learn, but because teachers don't want to be bothered. You follow me?
Right.
So it could be a gift because all them kids who was put in special ed just so they can get hustle, they got to go back to the regular class now. You see what I'm saying? So I can see where it might force a new state of affairs in education. But I could also see the curse too, which means they might still put them in special ed and really undereducate them now because they're not getting a federal subsidy. So I don't know how the ball gonna bounce, but simply cutting off federal dollars to Black schools doesn't concern me because there's been research that shows more than 75 cents of every public school dollar goes somewhere other than to the children. You feel me on that? So when you read the newspaper, they say Atlanta, Georgia public schools got a $10 million grant. How much of that money you think the kids ever gonna see?
None.
The teachers got a pay grade. The principal built some new parking lots. They got new computers for the teachers. The kids don't see that money, man. So a part of me, I ain't really upset about it too much. I'm concerned about the civil rights part, making sure Black kids aren't being discriminated against. Now that part, that will be a loss. But the money side, they only been hustling our kids for federal dollars anyway. So I don't really care too much about that.
It's interesting to see how that's gonna shake.
Yeah.
Were you about to say something, Chrissy?
Oh no, I was thinking, but that's yeah.
You got to get that thinking on the recording.
Yeah.
But you know what that makes me think about also. So when we're to say focus on education, one of my friends, Cyrus, and I think everybody, got a bunch of people in the room that y'all can't see, but I think everybody here has met Cyrus before, and he has this company called Tech is the New Black. Tech is the New Black. Yes, and so what he's been doing is he's been actually has a mission to get a whole bunch of adults into the tech space by helping them actually change careers. That's something I've done too. Oh wow, that's powerful. Yeah, that's something I've done too, like teaching people how to change careers from one path to another. I've taught almost 1,000 people. Wow. But he's doing it on a scale, because I've only done it as a contractor to schools or whatever, and teach at these tech schools, etc. He's building a school and building all this stuff from scratch, all online, that focuses on doing that. So getting them into QA, getting them into tech sales, because there's a whole bunch of tech jobs that need to get done that don't even require you to be able to code. So somebody that's in another field making $40,000 They just changed that over to the tech field, and they can make $150,000 doing almost the same thing. Like for him, for example, he used to sell, I can't remember what he used to sell, but he was a salesperson making like $40,000, $50,000 a year. Then he found out, oh, wait, I can actually, sell technology for software as a service companies and make $150,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year doing the exact same thing. But there's barely any Black people in those spaces because they're not initiated. So basically what he did is once he knocked down the door, he opened the door up for a bunch of people to come in behind him. And that's what he spends like all of his time doing. Like I think he still works at one company or whatever the case may be. He keeps the company under wraps because, he's a lot of followers on social media. It could get kind of crazy or whatever the case may be. But
where is he based?
He's based here in Atlanta.
He's based here in Atlanta.
Based here in Atlanta. That's what he does. And he's somebody else that could show people that even if you don't know how to code, you could take some of these things he calls transferable skills and bring it from your current field and bring it over to this space. Because even if, let's say for me, for example, if I build something, right? Because I'm a builder, I can code, I write program, I do all this stuff, right? But if somebody doesn't actually go out and take what I've made and, transact with it, like everything in my brain just becomes nothing, right? So he brings that part to it. So I'm curious, do you see a way to do that on a larger scale?
Absolutely.
Because what I'm saying, like these people that are already 20, 25, 26, that already learned some other skills that are not producing a lot of money.
Absolutely.
You can change over and put that somewhere else.
So then I'm wondering, and of course, we'll probably have that conversation off camera as well, but I'm looking at the size of my audience, right? And I'm saying, do we need to do some kind of a Black tech, not job fair, but Black tech career changeover fair or something?
Yeah.
Because I got all the Black conscious people, right? But I also have a sizable youth following, right? And so I'm like, can we create a conference or a seminar where we bring all these African people of every age and show them how to get into tech, change careers, just give them pathways to all the different careers that are involved in tech.
And offer that mentorship
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We need to create an event around that. And with the conscious flavor, nobody's going to feel like this event is so much over their head. Because, some of our people, they have low self-esteem.
Yes.
You feel me?
Yes.
So if you just put it out there, we're like, I can't do that. You know what I mean? So if we put the conscious flavor on it, okay, Dr. Umar's in it, it's down to earth. Maybe I'll go now. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm thinking about the unemployment rate. I'm thinking about the homelessness. I'm thinking about all the young people who keep dropping the hell out of school. We can save a lot of people with this.
I agree. And that's kind of like his goal. And I definitely put you in contact with him.
Okay.
I talk to him all the time. We're actually working on a project right now with him and another, she's a Black female tech founder. Her name is Ash. She's actually been on the podcast, twice. So we definitely could get something like that together. And also, I don't know if you know Buckhead Networking Group, like they're pretty active here. So in terms of like finding spots and places to organize and doing it like at a good like affordable price, because it wouldn't be something I'd be able to help with, but I know that they can, because I actually wanted to have my own event, in 2026, and they were going to help me do so. And your audience and reach is way bigger than mine, so I mean it'd be better for
now. Give me, because all of y'all are in tech, yourself, the other family that you named.
Yes.
How does your niche differ from theirs? So you gave me the one brother. He helps people go from their current career over into a tech career. You got one sister. She helped people get funding for their tech. What is your niche under the tech umbrella?
I can show people how to actually build the tech.
Gotcha.
So, I'm a software.
You create the tech.
I create the tech itself.
Gotcha.
The software.
I got you.
And I have some other friends that build the hardware. But that needs to happen too. It's not just about building the software. You got to be able to engineer the robotics and do all that stuff too.
So you're like a software developer.
That's exactly what I am.
Okay. Now, it wouldn't be as easy for them to come over into that.
It is more difficult to do what I do.
Okay.
But it can be done.
I got you.
If you can get yourself like what I always ask people when they say that they want to break in, I give them a question and I say, X plus 3 equals 5. Tell me what X equals right now. If they can answer that immediately, then I'm like, okay, I got something I can work with.
Okay.
Because all coded is a lot of algebra if you really break it down that way. So if you can do that and you can tell me that X is 2 right there, that means that you can conceptualize that in your head without having to write down a piece of paper, et cetera. So when I say that X is equal to the color blue, and that's why that's going to be blue, or that the number 255, in this position is how much red it is. This is how much green is, how much, that's what you're doing with all the stuff that you're writing when you're coding. So being able to do that basic lets me know I have something to build upon. If you can't do that, then I gotta say, like, this is probably not going to be for you. Because you need to be able to do that immediately. You need to tell me the answer right now, like without having to think.
What about like a kid though?
I mean, a kid, then they're like a tabula rasa, right?
Right,
So,
you can do anything.
Yeah, you can do anything there, but I'm talking about like a 30-year-old man or a 30-year-old woman. I'm like, can you tell me what that is?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then there's no reason to get started. Don't waste your time or your money.
Right.
Focus on something else because we need people to do everything.
Powerful. Because, I got the school coming too. And not just with the children, but when the school is not in session, the school will serve as a community organization hub. You know what I mean? So I'm even thinking of some of them kind of workshop seminars at the school for the adults. Because Wilmington City is predominantly Black. And of course, we're 20 minutes from Philly.
Yeah.
20 minutes from Jersey, 20 minutes from Northern Maryland. Wilmington is where PA, Jersey, Maryland, and Delaware meet. 2 hours from New York, 2 hours from DC.
Yeah, speaking of DC, we got Melanin Con coming in April.
What is that?
That's a conference by another gentleman that essentially, long story short, he made, Posh Standard and all that. He's called like the Black Gatsby and all that stuff. But basically, long story short, he's bringing together a whole bunch of people from different industries, and he brought a few tech people this time, actually. So I'm gonna speak there. Ash is going to speak there. A couple of people are going to speak there.
It's a tech.
It's not tech. It's business. It's business in general.
Okay.
Right, but and just Black excellence in general. Like they had the Black Excellence Gala and all these other things that are going to happen as well. So that is what's happening there. And so we have a couple tech things happening. But the reason why I bring that up is because that's happening in DC. And I would definitely love to introduce you to the founder and stuff like that, because
absolutely,
yeah, some connection there. There might be some way to amplify what's going on there.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Melanin Con is going to be big. It's going to be big.
Yeah,
it's called Melanin Con, Melanin Conference.
Yeah, Melanin. Yep.
How long you been doing that?
This is only the second one. So this is brand new.
I'm like, well, I never heard of this. Well, give me the info. I'm going to pop up. I'm going to try to pop up because that's only a 2-hour drive from the school.
Perfect.
You said Black communities struggle to organize like the mafia. Why is that?
We suffered so much as a result of being Black that most of us are allergic to identifying with our Blackness. Our Blackness has been the source of so much of our pain and our trauma that when people bring up any issue that involves us to be conscious of our Blackness, we run away from it. Because for the average Black person in America, Blackness equals pain and shame. That's at the root of why you can't organize us around our racial identity. Mexicans can organize around racial identity. Asians can organize around racial identity. Arabs, Jews, everybody else. We're the only group you cannot organize us around racial identity. If you want to organize Black people, you got to use religion, fraternity, masonry, professional association, neighborhood. You can't organize us around race because we are so turned off to the concept because most of us consider our race to be the primary source of our issues.
Ooh.
And that's globally, by the way, because you go to Africa, the brothers and sisters on the continent, they'll say, well, you know, Dr. Umar, I'm not African, I'm Igbo. I'm not African, I'm Yoruba. I'm not African, I'm Zulu. I'm not African, I'm Kosa. I'm not African, I'm Mandingo. Because prior to the arrival of the Caucasian, we never had a reason to organize with each other. This kingdom never dealt with the other kingdom unless they had to. There was no need for a continent-wide organization. You see that? Mm-hmm. So when the white man came, he said, you know what? These black people don't like each other. So we ain't got to do nothing but exploit the pre-existing differences that they already had. The white man didn't invent the self-hate. He reinvented it for his purpose. That's why right now in Africa, you got brothers and sisters from different kingdoms still clashing. Go to Nigeria, right? You got Igbo, you got Yoruba, you got Hausa. And you like, can we work together? And they're like, hell no. Because we ain't like them for 10,000 years. Mm-hmm. You see, we didn't like them before the white man showed up. Mm-hmm. And you want me to like them now because the white man called this land Nigeria? You see what I'm saying? We didn't choose for this to be called Nigeria. Remember, when a white man came to Africa, right? He paid no respect at all to the geographic territories ruled by the kingdoms. He simply said, this is the Gold Coast. This is the Congo. You see what I'm saying? He didn't care that that kingdom don't like this kingdom or them two kingdoms been at war for 500 years. He didn't care. He simply said, it's diamonds right here and this is mine. Mm-hmm. So when independence came to Africa, guess what? Those tribal differences that existed before the white man, they came right back. In other words, the white man going now, we can get back to fighting to decide who's going to rule this. And so as a Pan-Africanist in Africa, with the Pan-Africanists in Africa, our biggest job is getting brothers and sisters on a continent to understand that y'all got far more in common than you got difference. If we do the DNA on a Yoruba and DNA on a Igbo, genetically, it ain't going to be a lot of difference there. You follow what I'm saying? Yeah. Genetically, it ain't going to be a lot of difference because it's not a race, it's an ethnicity. And if you look at the way in which these kingdoms were created, they often split off from pre-existing kingdoms, which means that at one time, y'all were all one people.
Yep.
Go to any country. They were all one at one time and they split. So why we fighting like cats and dogs? But my point is we do this everywhere though. Because in America, we don't necessarily know where we come from in the African continent, right? So we'll just fight over gangs. We'll fight over streets. We'll fight over territory. We'll fight over high schools. Mm-hmm. We'll fight over neighborhoods and we don't even own nothing in the neighborhood. Black people will always find a reason to fight with other black folks. Always. The Honorable Marcus Garvey said, the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. He said we don't suffer because we black alone. We suffer because we black and disorganized, right? Think about it. You think the police would kill us the way they kill us if we were organized?
No.
No way.
Absolutely
They
not.
do it because you keep yourself disorganized. Mm-hmm. Why is the Chinese running the planet right now? The Chinese is really the superpower of the planet. You know why? They're the most organized people. And a lot of Chinese don't like Mao Zedong. And Mao Zedong did a lot of bad things. But let me tell you what Mao Zedong did do. When he took over China, China was considered a debtor nation. Nobody respected him. Nobody paid him no attention. When Mao Zedong went to Russia, Stalin wouldn't even shake his hand. He said, the Chinese are so beneath me, I'm not even going to shake their hand. What did Mao Zedong do? He went back to China. He said, oh yeah, the world mocks us now. They will need us later. Guess what he did? He started a cultural revolution, which he borrowed from the Honorable Marcus Garvey. He sold being Chinese back to the Chinese people. And then guess what he did? He sent Chinese youth all around the world to study what everybody else was doing and to learn how to make what they were making. And the genius of the Chinese Revolution lies in the fact that they didn't try to compete with the Americans, the French, the Belgians, the British, you know what they did? They said, we simply going to learn how they make what they make.
Go back home.
Go back home and make the best replica of it and sell the replica. Mm-hmm. You feel me? The Chinese make everything. I was over there. Listen, when I was in the malls in China, this is the crazy thing about China. In America, if you want to buy some bootleg merchandise, you got to go to the back street, right? Mm-hmm. Guess where they sell it at in China? Right in a mall. Bro, they were selling fake Jordans in the mall. Beautiful mall. Like you go to a mall here, imagine walking to a mall in a store full of fake Jordans. A store full of fake True Religion. A store full of fake Ralph Lauren. I couldn't believe, in the open, no hiding. Because remember, they communists, so they don't believe in capitalism. So they don't respect it. They don't respect it at all. So in China, you can buy anything bootleg you want made by the white man. They're going to sell it to you. In open air. No secret. So I ain't going to lie. I went crazy. I said, damn this. I'm taking some of this back to America. Yo, so, it's all about organization. And Mao Zedong sent his youth around the world to learn what everybody else was making, and he decided that China was going to basically become the dollar store and the Walmart of the planet Earth. You know why the white man can't do nothing with the yellow man? The reason the Americans and the British and the French can't stop China, this is what China did. This was genius. Capitalism is all about doing what? Paying $1 for it, selling it for $1,000. Right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Air Jordans cost about $7. We're going to sell them for $250. That's capitalism. We're going to make, 100-fold profit, right? Mm-hmm. So the communist, the Chinaman said, you know what we're going to do? We're not going to compete with them. 2/3 of the world lives on less than $1 a day. 2/3 of the world live on less than they can't afford to buy all this. So why we want to make a car to compete with Mercedes? Why we want to make a sneaker to compete with Air Jordan? Most people around the world will never buy that. They can't afford it. You know what we're going to do? We're going to make merchandise that the poor can buy. Mm-hmm. China caters to the poor. The problem with America can't get rid of China. How do you put somebody out of business who's underselling everything you produce? Mm-hmm. You see that? Can't mess with them. Everybody buys from China. The whole Asia buy from China. Africa buy from China. The Caribbean buy from China. Central and South America buy from China. We buy from China. How you going to get rid of them? China has made themselves indispensable to the existence of the world. Cheap clothes, they sell it. Cheap food, they got it. The dollar store stuff. Where most of your dollar store stuff come from? China.
Made in China, yes.
So how the hell are you going to get rid of China when China is taking care of the poor people who represent the majority of the earth? Check it out. Basically, the Chinese are saying to the white man, you made the world poor through capitalism. And I'm going to cater to the people you made poor so they never need you again. I got into an argument with a brother over there, right? He from America, but he live over there because he has a connection with the weave shop, the weave factory in China. So he said, Dr. Umar, I can help you raise all the money you need for your schools, bro. I'm just going to send the weave and you going to sell it. I said, nigga, please. That go against everything I stand for. He was mad. He's like, but doc, you need the money for your school. I said, yeah, bro, but it's still principles. He wanted to go into business. He wanted me to open up a beauty salon because being Dr. Umar, if I'm selling fake hair, all the sisters are going to buy the fake hair from Dr. Umar. I said, I can't do it or go against my principle. But you can get anything in China. Anything in China, man. I'm telling you. I was there.
Speaking about principles, now, obviously, you go online, you go on YouTube, you go on these places, you see people, disparaging your character and talking about, when the school coming, and all this stuff like that. And
you've been raising money for 15 years. Y'all didn't even know me 15 years ago. What are you talking about? I wasn't even around 15.
Exactly.
But go ahead,
what you call them? The YouTubian struggle?
The YouTubian struggle stream.
Exactly.
These Negroes will desecrate your reputation, your image, your character for 100 views.
Yep.
You feel me? They will destroy you for 100 views. You struggle streamer. It's crazy, y'all. It's absolutely crazy, man. But here's the thing, though. I try not to give too much voice to the YouTubian struggle streamers and the other haters I have because, especially as the school goes, the school gonna open soon. See, my thing is, why are you arguing if you know you're gonna win? You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Once the school open, the case, now don't get me wrong, they're gonna find something else then. You follow me? They're not stopping. Oh, they're not stopping.
Like when you was buying the crystals at the cart that one time?
Right. They said I was using the school money, right?
Yeah.
You know, so but I tell y'all this though. I'm gonna do a documentary on building FDMG because what we went through to get that school up and running, I should have never had to go through all the black contractors who ripped us off. Oh, we got scammed out, yo. We got scammed out. All the vandalism. We went through so much. I knew self-hate, but I never lived it before. FDMG forced me to see just how sick a lot of our people are. And I think one of the reasons God delayed the opening of the school is I still had a lot of lessons I needed to learn. I had a lot of lessons I still needed to learn. But we almost there now. We just got to get some floors done. And it's time to apply for our certificate of occupancy. So we tiptoeing around the finish line now. Thank God.
Thank God. Those promise.
And they never built nothing, talking about how long it takes to open a school. They never built nothing. Not even a Lego house. Talking about how you become an expert in renovating a school and you never renovated one. That's what I hate about social media, man. It'll turn a nobody into an expert. It's crazy, man.
And then to direct that energy towards you, trying to help.
And see, my thing is this: if you're going to be a hater, be an honest hater. This is what I get. I get somebody come to a lecture, right? And they'll talk with me, take a picture, buy a book, best conversation of the night. And they'll go back home, jump on social media and start hating. When we just had a great conversation for an hour, I never knew you was a hater. He did all that just to say I spoke with him. And then go back home, get on the internet and misrepresent everything we talked about. Like, they're not even honest. Like, if you a hater, be a hater.
Yeah.
Don't be a friend of me, be a hater.
Yeah.
They can't even be honest with it, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I never traded in, though, because I look at all the people I've been able to help, all the lives I've changed, all the parents I helped with their children, all the kids I kept out of prison. Like, there's been a lot of quiet victories along the way. I wouldn't trade them. And then people say, well, what do you feel about the memes, right? And I say it's the gift and the curse like everything else. On the one hand, they do play too much, right? But on the other hand, without those memes, I wouldn't have the audience I have.
Right.
True.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even with the haters, without the slander, I wouldn't have the audience, because the way it works is a lot of the parents who come to me for help, you know what they tell me? Somebody sent me a video of you. Somebody was attacking you, saying you stole the school money. And I said, I need to look this guy up. And I looked you up and found out you was a school psychologist. And it just so happened I was having issues with my kids. And so you gave your number out, and I'm calling you now because I need your help. If she never saw the hate, she could have never got the help. You see what I'm saying? So I recognize the purpose in everything. Like, even now, people like everybody all over YouTube with your videos, and they stealing your videos and putting them on their pages. And because, I never had a YouTube page, still don't.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Those are fake pages. Prince of Pan-Africanism, that ain't me. King Kong consciousness, that ain't me. They just use my pictures. That ain't me. I don't know who them is.
And they're making money.
So right now, I'm getting my name trademarked. Once my name is trademarked, I believe we can then scrape all them pages and take all my content back and bring it back to one place.
Yeah, because that's crazy.
Yeah. But the reason I wasn't quick to act on it, if it wasn't for people taking my content and sharing it, I never become who I am. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you try not to shut down what got you where you at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they overdo it now, though. Because people be sending them messages and they be responding like they me. That's too much.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
Somebody's
crazy.
like, yeah, I messaged you the other day and we had a conversation. No, you didn't, because I ain't even got a YouTube. And somebody told me the King Kong consciousness might be a damn Caucasian, man.
No word.
Yeah,
No way.
They told me they think it's a white guy impersonating me. Yeah.
That's very possible, because there's like a big push right now on YouTube for people to make these faceless pages or whatever. And like one of the things I was talking to a guy, and I'm not going to say his name, and I barely can remember his name. His name was Paul something or whatever. But anyway, he was teaching a strategy where literally doing exactly what you're saying, where literally you look for celebrities that don't have their own like online presence.
They doing it to me,
and you literally take their stuff and consolidate it in one location. And he said that, ethically, you can make sure it's known that you're a fan page, but you don't
They're
have
not doing that with me.
Yeah, no, they're not doing that.
You don't have to.
That's crazy. They're definitely not.
And they're making a killing. They were showing numbers on some of those pages are making $80,000 and $90,000 a month.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wild.
Yeah.
But the people always find a way to do something underhanded as long as there's nobody stopping them from doing it.
Oh man, no type of character, no type. Like, why would you even do that? You know what I mean? This is crazy, man. People out here wilding. Social media has made attention the new currency. People care more about attention than money now. Do you feel me?
No, for real.
They will forego the check to be known. And they will do anything to be known. Some of the stuff I see people do to be known, they will completely embarrass themselves for 100 views.
So where does that stem from, though?
I'm going to go to the psychology with you on this. I'm going to say this to you. One of our basic human needs is to be appreciated and recognized. If you grew up in a family or a society where you were not appreciated or recognized, and you find TikTok, you find Instagram, you find Facebook, and you were never appreciated, never recognized, you will become a social media addict overnight. Because you're going to be so intoxicated with the little bit of attention that you get, you can't get off it. But y'all follow what I'm saying?
It's like a drug, right?
Yes, it's a drug.
Yeah.
Social media is a drug, especially if you're a low self-esteem, no attention, no appreciating getting person. I'm telling you, it's a drug. When you see a grandmother up there twerking,
we lost.
You know this is a drug. It's a complete drug, man. It's a complete drug. And that's why I appreciate the Chinese government. And I'm no fan of China, believe me, they racist. But I appreciate the Chinese government for passing a law. I don't know if y'all saw it a couple months ago, where the children in China can only be on the internet or social media for 3 hours a week. You saw that, Bob? 3 hours a week, that's it. And people like, that's wrong. No, it ain't wrong. Because they got better things to do. They're not going to let them be like the black kids in America. Nah, we trying to take over the world. Okay, you're going to be about the business of helping us take over the world. You're not going to be Twitter fingers all night. And China don't have none of the social medias, right?
Yeah, they have their own.
They have their own social media. When I was in China, in order to get on social media, I had to get a VPN and break through to get, They have their own social media. Ain't no Cash App, ain't no PayPal. They have their own money exchange, and it's all embedded in the social media. They control everything. But look at them. They run the world.
Right.
Even if you go on TikTok, since, over there, like their kids, the way the algorithm works is different.
They don't see the American stuff.
Yeah, they don't see what we see.
Oh, man, they control everything. But look at them, though. Look at them. They run the world.
Working,
They run the world.
Building stuff and making rockets and doing STEM stuff.
And in their schools, they serious. They teach that patriotism like they not playing. China wants to run the planet. And I don't see nobody being able to stop them no time soon. And this is why I'm so concerned about the African takeover by China. If China gets Africa, we're done. And she damn near there. She's damn near there, man. She got the Caribbean. She got Jamaica. They got a third of the islands already, man. These black leaders, they be selling out the people, man, making deals under the table with the Chinese and the white man. And it's bad. If China get Africa, I would hate to see that war. Remember, we had to fight to get the white man out of Africa. That was in the 60s. Do you imagine how long we're going to have to fight to get the Chinese out of Africa? They got as many people as we got. The white man is a minority, not them.
Yeah.
Chinese and Africans are the two largest groups. They got technology, they got the weapons, and they're not that far. They're not that far away. So we creating a bad situation with that right now. Bad situation with that.
That's the reason not saying that is the reason necessarily, but there's like a big push, like when I was talking about Marlon with Mac Ventures. He's in Africa like every a couple of weeks, and he's out there like buying this and buying that. It's like and they've raised like $100-something million or something like that in their fund. So they have a lot of funds to do some stuff with. So they
powerful. So
he's out there like investing in new startups in Africa all the time because he wants them to have self-determination. And
I'm gonna have to get into tech.
Yes, you are. That's why I had to bring you on. That's exactly what you got to do
today. This is it.
I'll send an introduction to all those people I told you.
Please.
Especially Marlon. Marlon's a
I'm going to have to do a tech conference, have all y'all come and speak so y'all can introduce the Black community to what's really going on in the world of tech. Because even with this AI stuff, people seeing it, they liking it, but they don't know how to break in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're like, I want in on this. How? It's the how. We missing the how.
I would say shameless plug, but it is my podcast. I have a course we just were talking about that I'm selling for my birthday for $27 that goes over all that stuff. Ooh. And gives you like 5,000 chat GPT prompts, whatever. And so it's normally more money, but for my birthday it's $27 for like
I need to do it.
Time.
I need to. When your birthday?
January 4th.
You are Capricorn?
Capricorn, yep.
Capricorn. And y'all very much about details.
Oh, there's a lot of detail in there, of course.
Capricorns are very much about
you see my notes.
Yeah.
Capricorns are very much about details and structure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Your two favorite things.
Yes, they are.
Yep.
Literally.
True Capricorn. Wow.
So, Diddy has been in the headlines for allegations of abuse. Mm-hmm. Why do you think it's such a double standard when it comes to holding Black men in power accountable?
Well, number one, going back to the plantation, the white man created this myth of the sexually uncontrollable Black male. It was one of the stereotypes they used to justify their dehumanization of us during slavery. So this myth of the Black man not being able to control his sexual appetite is as old and even older than the United States itself. So put it in context. I'm giving you that because I'm saying that it makes it so much easier for people to believe the Diddy allegations or the Cosby allegations or the Jay-Z allegations or any other allegations, because from a historical perspective, America has always been taught that the Black man is animalistic and can't control his sexual energy, right? So you got to put it in perspective. Mm-hmm. Now, the double standard, I think, comes from the fact that the American criminal justice system was created to incarcerate Black people and not white people. Let me explain what I mean by that. When the Civil War ended and the 13th Amendment came in 1865, there was no federally wide national prison system. All you had were local and county jails. Do you feel me? Jail over there, jail over there, jail over there. There was no network of prisons. When they let us out of slavery, that's when they decided to create a national prison system. Mm. Why? Because the 13th Amendment never outlawed slavery. It said slavery is still legal as a punishment for a crime. Mm-hmm. So if slavery is still legal as a punishment for a crime, all you have to do is turn the Black man into a criminal. And how did they do it? They did it with the vagrancy laws. Yep. At the end of slavery, they said that if you were unemployed, jail. Homeless, jail. Drunk, jail. Well, if I'm an ex-slave, no job, hungry babies, I'm going to be homeless, I'm going to be unemployed, and I'm going to be drunk. And they used the vagrancy laws to initiate the mass incarceration system of America. So the prisons don't really operate for white people to be in them. They operate for Black people to be in them. Don't get me wrong. There's more white people in jail in terms of numbers because there's more white people in America.
Right.
We're only 15%, right? But we are disproportionately, the standard prisoner in America is Black, right? I live in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, as a county, incarcerates more youth for life without parole than any country in the world. Did you hear what I said? I didn't say the state of Pennsylvania. I said the city of Philadelphia, the county, incarcerates more youth with life without parole than any country in the world. America incarcerates more people than every other country in the world. So mass incarceration is without question a black thing. It's without question a black thing. So, and here's the other thing too. When you talk about Diddy, when you talk about R. Kelly, when you talk about Bill Cosby, when you talk about Jay-Z, and of course, R. Kelly may very well have been guilty, right? I don't think Bill Cosby was guilty at all. And I don't think Puffy has been guilty of sexually trafficking people against their will. Did he put some stuff in people's drinks? He might have. I'm hearing enough evidence. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Was there some questionable things? Might have. But going into another state, kidnapping women, bringing them back and forcing them to do things they don't want to do against their will, I have a hard time believing that. If you Puffy, I ain't got to force nobody to do nothing. I got enough money to pay them. You feel me? So I have an issue with that. But here's what I want you to understand. Most of these sex allegations are being put on these men because they need to be disgraced because the white power structure is upset with them for not doing what they wanted them to do. R. Kelly, even if he's guilty, that's not why he's in jail. He's in jail because he didn't want to sell his masters. Bill Cosby is in jail because him and his wife, Camille Cosby, did not let the second largest oil company in the world drill under their Massachusetts home and create an oil tunnel. Puffy is in jail because he sued Diageo Liquor Company, one of the most powerful liquor companies in the world. He sued them and forced them to settle out of court. And he also started a Black First political party. Jay-Z is going through this because Jay-Z also sued a liquor company, if I'm not mistaken, and he's trying to open up a casino in New York City. He'll be the first black man to ever do it. Mm-hmm. This is not about them crimes. This is about a takedown from the shadow government. Michael Jackson died because he didn't want to sell Sony Records back, his ownership of the Beatles music, and he also wanted to buy Marvel Comics. He got accused of molesting them white boys soon when he entered a bid for Marvel Comics. Mike got accused of molestation to stop him from getting Marvel Comics. Imagine if Michael Jackson produced Black Panther.
Mm-hmm. Look what he did with Remember the Time.
Yes. Imagine if Michael Jackson had Black Panther. Whitney Houston is dead because Whitney Houston wanted her masters back. She wanted her publishing. And she also wanted to do an audit on her royalty because she felt that she had gotten robbed out of all the money that she made. Remember, Whitney Houston, up until Mariah Carey, was the highest selling female artist of all time. And her song, the remix of I Will Always Love You, is the highest selling female single in world history. And she was broke. She had to die before the truth came out. Prince was murdered because he didn't want to sell his... Prince was murdered because he didn't want to give his unpublished music over to his music company. So they took his life, and now they got all his music.
Do we know what happened to Nipsey?
I don't know about Nipsey. I'm still undecided about Nipsey Hussle. But I will tell you this. One thing that drew my attention with Nipsey Hussle had created some sort of a system where the artists could sell their music direct to the company and cut out the majors. Mm-hmm. And that was definitely a threat to the music company. Kobe Bryant was murdered because Kobe Bryant was starting his own sneaker brand that was going to compete with Nike. And he was starting his own professional basketball association that was going to be headquartered where? China. He had to die. America was not going to let Kobe Bryant start a professional basketball league in China. Hell no. And Nike wasn't going to let him come out with a pair of sneakers that was going to undermine Nike's authority over the sneaker game. They killed Kobe. They killed Jimi Hendrix, the black guitar player, because Jimi Hendrix's manager was a British Secret Service agent, and Jimi Hendrix was going to finance the Black Panther Party. Once they found that out, he died, just like Whitney Houston, from a so-called drug overdose in the bathtub in the hotel. It's never what you think it is. It's never what you think it is. And my problem with our black celebrities, from what I see, because I know a lot of them, they always surrounded with white folks. Mm-hmm. Can somebody, you from the ghetto, but you surrounded with white folks. Mm-hmm. So I can see how it's so easy to get them because you ain't got no black protection. Your whole team. Look at Michael Jackson. An army of people around him and they all white. Easy E. I don't know what, I don't understand him. I'm glad I ain't no celebrity. I'd be paranoid. I'd be paranoid.
What do you call it?
Did y'all see the Jamie Foxx special?
Yes.
I didn't see.
He kind of said they tried to get him, right? He basically kind of tell you. And did you see when he said no more snow bunnies?
Yep.
But he was joking though. But you know what that tell me? That tell me that the white girl he was messing with didn't hold him down while he was down. You feel me? Because why would he say no more snow bunnies? Jamie Foxx know what it is, but he know he got to move
a certain way because
absolutely. And he was at some of them puff parties too, so he got to lay low. And you saw LeBron, right? They asked LeBron James about the puff party. LeBron James said, I'm not going to answer any questions about that until it's time. So he like this, I hope my pictures don't come up. Because you know the NBA made LeBron the face of the NBA after Kobe got accused of the rape case. See? LeBron James would not be in the GOAT conversation like he is, or he would be third if Kobe never gets accused of raping a white girl.
You hear that,
NBA cannot let Kobe in the GOAT conversation because it's bad for their brand. Think about it. If they say Kobe the greatest basketball player of all time, the Snow Bunny's going to say, but he raped one of us. It's bad for the NBA's brand. If Kobe never got accused, and I know he regretted. Rest in peace to Kobe. I know he regretted. If Kobe never gets accused of rape, it's between him and Mike. It's between him and Mike. But he got accused of the rape, so the NBA cannot allow him to be in the conversation.
He was four-peated too. But that's a whole nother conversation though.
Why you say the four-peat?
Because his mind wasn't right, because he was dealing with all that stuff.
That's right. That's the year they lost to Detroit. Was that the year?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's when the whole thing was happening. They lost to the Spurs, then to Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I definitely don't think they lose to the Spurs.
I think the Lakers was too old when they played Detroit though. Because you had Carmelo,
Shaq was hurt
Gary
too.
Payton, they was kind of over. You know what I mean? When I saw Ben Wallace block Shaq's dunk, I said, this is over.
That was all she wrote.
Nobody's blocking a Shaq dunk in the air.
6'8".
6'8", 7'3", and he blocks your dunk in the air. I said, nah. This is over with. And then they said Karl Malone was trying to get at Kobe's wife during the season or something like that. Remember that? Something about... Yeah, so the Lakers, it wasn't meant. Kobe should have had 6 though, but they got blitzed by the Boston Celtics. They wasn't gonna get that one. I'm not sure if they would have got the Detroit one either. He lost one more though.
No, I'm saying when he lost to the Spurs, they would have beat the Spurs.
But wait a minute, did he lose another finals though?
No, he only lost the 2
Detroit.
finals.
Only 2? It wasn't the third?
Lakers.
Not the Nets?
The third one that people think about is them losing to the Spurs, but the Spurs weren't before the finals.
I got you.
When he lost to the Spurs.
I got you. Yeah, they snatched that crown and gave it to LeBron, and then they made LeBron go ahead and marry Savannah. Not to say he wasn't. I believe he was going to. But I personally believe that after the Kobe rape case, they went to LeBron and said, listen, we can't have this happen no more. You're going to wife her. I know you're probably going to do it anyway, but you're going to do it now.
Yeah.
You're going to do it now if you want to be the face of this league. You feel me?
Yeah.
And the big mistake that Puffy made, he would have still got in trouble. But the big mistake Puffy made, he wasn't married. Puffy was out here wilding. You feel me? You a whole billionaire with no wifey. Look at Kanye. Kanye stayed with a wife. She might be a snow bunny, but he stayed with a wife. Yeah, Jay married Beyonce because that image matters. Look at all the white boys. They might be into some freaked out shit, but guess what? They got a wife.
Absolutely.
Puffy out here like a whole Negro. Billionaire, parties every night, no wife. They gonna get your ass.
From everywhere.
You feel me? You coming to my party tonight, nigga, you 50.
Yeah,
get your ass somewhere and sit down. But for them not to give him bail, for them not to give Puffy bail, but remember, Elvis was with, what's her name? Priscilla? She slept in his house. Now, they claim they didn't have sex. Priscilla was in Elvis' house since 14. I think he married her at 16 because that was the legal age. What is a 14-year-old girl doing sleeping in your house? And white folks don't call him no pedophile.
Right.
Think about that.
Right.
Elvis, 14. 14. And white folks don't say nothing about that. And they damn sure don't want you to bring up Thomas Jefferson, founding father, who used to rape Sally Hemings. What was she, 11, 10? He was so freaked out with Sally Hemings when he used to take the long ship rides back to Britain. Guess who had to go with him? Sally Hemings. He raped her the whole way home. Thomas Jefferson. First great pedophile in American history. Double standard. Double standard. Double standard.
Well, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you would like to cover?
I would say this. Going into the 2025 year, 3 serious global concerns for the African race. Global. It's a problem for all of us. Land security, food security, health security.
Ooh.
They are wiping us out with disease of every kind. They are also turning us into a landless race. When I was in the UK a few weeks ago, all I kept hearing about is how they gentrifying us. When I was in the Caribbean, Black Island, they gentrifying us. You feel me?
Right.
They want to make black people a landless people. And once we don't own no land, we effectively in slavery again. If you don't own any land, you are completely subject to the will of those who do. We have to watch the land grab, the global land grab from America to Africa. It's a global land grab. We also got to watch the health piece. You see what Bill Gates is doing, right? Bill Gates is in Africa right now. Mm-hmm. He got this experiment where they're going to implant newborn babies in Kenya with this tracking device. And the Kenyan government is letting him do it. Mm-hmm. They're going to put tracking devices in the babies. But guess what else he's doing? He's working with the African Union. He's trying to force the African Union to stop all the farmers in Africa from using organic seed. He wants them to only use genetically modified seed that he sells them. They want to wipe us out through disease and starvation. I'm telling you.
And my question is, why didn't anyone ask him why? Why are you going to?
Because he's powerful.
Who's going to stop him?
Who's going to stop him? And who's going to?
But it looks just so black and white, clear as day.
But here's the thing. Did you know about that before he told you?
I saw it on TikTok.
Did you? Okay.
I did.
Listen, most black people, 80% of the African world, including America, we don't secure our own food. Mm-hmm. Our food comes from China. It comes from the white man. You follow me? Mm-hmm. We better be careful. And then, in America, 70% of us live in food deserts. Mm-hmm. 70% of black America don't live within 10 minutes of healthy food. So watch that food security, watch the health security, watch the land security.
Watch whatever Church of Chicken is doing.
Oh, man.
I don't know what they're doing.
Oh, and I'm going to tell y'all something else. All these food recalls, you ain't going to tell me this is coincidence.
It can't be.
50,000 chickens with birds flu. If you bought chicken in the last 20, McDonald's, all the burgers got salmonella. Man, please, y'all putting that shit in there. Come on. Y'all killing us, man. We got to start growing our own food. I'm trying to work with these black farmers. We got to do something. The black farmers got the food. I don't know. Maybe we got to create distribution. I don't know why they're not getting their food out to the black communities the way that we need to. Because black farmers only 1% of all farmers. But it's enough of them now. And you got some black farmers who got a couple 100 acres out there. So we should be able to, I don't see why the black farmers' food ain't getting to black people. That's the point that I'm making. I don't understand why the black farmers' food isn't getting to black people. I'm going to have to look into that. But that's just my thing. But 2025, we got to turn the corner, y'all. Mm-hmm. We get this tech piece is a big part of it. Mm-hmm. We got to turn the corner.
Well, speaking of 2025 and just beyond, on the podcast, we always talk about 2032. And the reason for that is because in the year 2032, and I kind of end on this and love your opinion. And I think Chrissy might have a couple points as well. But in 2032, you have the baby boomer generation that was born from 46 to 64. They are hitting the age where they are going to be between 86 to 68. So all of them are going to have completely retired and be out of the job market. Then you have Gen X, who is right behind them, 65 to 82. They're a much smaller generation, so they weren't able to overtake the voting power, political power of the baby boomer generation. But they're also going to be retiring getting older, et cetera. A lot of them are going to be in their 60s and a few of them are going to be just about to hit 70.
Okay.
Around that time. But then you have the millennial generation, Gen Alpha, and Gen Z as well, who are collectively at that time going to be all adults, and be able to outnumber the amount of baby boomers, and Gen Xers for like the first time in a long time. So you have this big swell in the same way how the baby boomers took over, political power in the 80s, because there were so many of them. So they were able to outnumber their parents when they were able to vote in people like John F. Kennedy and get all this change, et cetera. But as time, progressed, and they saw Medgar Evers die and Dr. King and JFK, et cetera, and they saw all this type of stuff, they kind of tried to skew to a different political, standpoint. So outside of the tech piece, because I could talk about some of those things that are connecting there, but I just specifically on the political piece, we always talk about the fact that there is like this issue that we have now where we're always having to choose between the lesser of two evils. We only have to choose between two parties, et cetera. And that younger group, that millennial, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they all have grown up knowing their entire life that this system does not work. And they're going to be how old at that time? So you have the millennials are going to be those from 82 to 96, depending on who's saying it. Okay. So you have age 50 at the oldest, and then Gen Alpha, you have the ones that are born in 2014 and between 2010 and 2014, they'll be 18. So you have 50 to 18 all day. Well, no, the Gen Zs will be in their 30s. Okay. Yeah. So those born like the 90s, et cetera, they're like the later 90s, they're going to be in their 30s. But collectively, those numbers of those groups and each one of those groups, they're going to be bigger than those other groups. And that's also people that have grown up their entire life with technology at their fingertips too. You're going from a old group to a younger one at that time. Mm-hmm. But they're going to be old enough to control things and make moves. Exactly. And if you look at that on the chart, it's kind of crazy when you see like how fast that number falls off, because the baby boomers have had such a hold for such a long time on the electoral college, et cetera, because there's so many of them and they're living longer. But, that's going to change very, 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 very soon, just with their mortality rate, if it stays. That's interesting too, because 2031, you said 2032. 2032. But 2031 is the bicentennial of the Nat Turner War.
Wow.
So I'm listening to what he's saying, and I'm tying it in with the ancestral. You feel me? That's the bicentennial of Nat Turner. That'll be the 200th anniversary of the most successful slave revolt in American history. So maybe something's supposed to pop off. But I add this to it, though. Y'all know what age we're in right now. Probably the age of Aquarius. It's no way to say for sure. But on November the 19th, last month, the planet Pluto moved into the sign of Aquarius. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know what you know about Pluto, but Pluto stays in the sign anywhere from about 12 to 20 years, right? It's the slowest moving planet. It represents death and rebirth. Now, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was the Haitian Revolution, the French Revolution, the American Revolution. So what am I saying? For the next 18 years, revolution is coming to the planet. Good or bad, it's coming. So keep that in mind too, because I'm listening to what you're saying. You follow me? And that's still Pluto in Aquarius season 2. The Nat Turner bicentennial is Pluto in Aquarius season. And y'all know what the Haitian Revolution was. Yes. That's when the enslaved Africans of Haiti threw off the yoke of slavery. They beat Napoleon, the greatest general. And white history was defeated by an army of slaves. So I'm saying something significant is supposed to happen. Yep, and even for the people that are like, oh, I don't like looking at the stars and stuff like that. But look at the chart. Even the Bible tells you.
Say it again, please.
Even the Bible tells you that it's written in the stars.
So we just got to do our job and make sure that's positive. It's a positive. And we got to realize that the universe will help you, but the universe will not do it for you. Black people waiting for God to save us. God don't work for you. You work for God. You got to do the work. The ancestors will help you, but you got to do the work. Absolutely.
We don't want to do the work. We want to sit by God coming when Jesus comes while I sip on my 40. No. You got to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
It's in us to do. We need a serious psychological revolution. A serious one. Somebody asked me, they said, what will it take for Black people to get serious, get organized, and build their own reality in America? They said, will it take more oppression? I said, no. They said, Doc, if it get really, really bad for Black people, you don't think we'll change? The only thing that will make a people who don't love themselves get up and get active is necessity. It would have to get so bad that you have no other choice but to do it. But as long as there's an option not to do it, we taking the option. We taking the option. We don't have enough love to do what's right for ourselves. We don't. We look out for ourselves. We look out for our family. We don't operate from community. We do not operate from community. That's why every time the police kill somebody, we have a riot, right? And I'm not against that because you got to get the attention of the power structure. But you notice all these police murders, we tore down a lot of shit. We never built anything as a result of one. What did we build as a result of a police assassination? You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Did we build anything after Trayvon? Did we build anything after Breonna? Did we build anything after Tamir, Sonia Bland, Sonia Massey, Amir Pope, Philando Castile, Alton Sterling, Michael Brown, Freddie Gray? What did we build? We burned, but what did we build? Nothing. You need love to build. You need anger to destroy.
Well, with that,
we don't love ourselves.
We don't love ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't love ourselves. And we keep trying to act like we do. No, we don't. It's impossible. Love, you can see evidence of love. You can see it. You can feel love. Black people don't love each other. We love white folks, though. We will forgive white people for slavery and won't forgive a Black person for stepping on our shoe.
It's a lot of things to think about.
A lot of things to think about, too. I want to do a conference.
I'll call Michael tomorrow because he's okay. Him and Rebecca are the ones that get that set up in Atlanta immediately.
Gotcha.
Well, thank you again for
Thank
everything.
you, Queen. Thank you.
You're welcome back anytime, please.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Appreciate it.
And what we realize as a company is that we have a pulse on the community, and therefore we have a responsibility to make sure that we are not just giving Black people good experiences, but we are also giving them wealth creation opportunities. And so I'm hopeful, right? I think time will tell whether Black people are well positioned, but I will say this. When it comes to venture capital, I still don't think that Black people are in a position to get a proportionate share of VC dollars, right? The same issues that existed prior to the AI revolution still exist. And so part of why I wrote this book, and specifically in the chapters as it relates to how to, raise funding, how to secure funding with no customers, everything I talk about is not about raising VC money, right? And for two reasons. One, because to get VC money, you typically need customers, right? So if you have no customer traction, you're probably not going to be able to raise VC money anyway. That's especially true if you're a Black person or if you're a woman and if you're a Black woman, right? You sort of get it doubly, a double ding there, right? And so the things that I talk about were for that reason, but then two, just understanding that based on my experience and the experience of so many entrepreneurs that I know, you waste so much time trying to chase VC funding that if you actually put that time and energy into just building a great company, building a great product, assembling a great team, that will serve you better in the long run. And so
this specific podcast, it hit almost 1 million views in a couple of months because I told the story on how my car got stolen. Super Bowl weekend. Went viral.
Where were you at?
I was in Atlanta. You know where I was at. I was in Atlanta.
Oh, dang.
So instead of me telling people how much money I was making, or I told people a real story that could probably happen to you in your business, but here's how I overcame it. So I realized through that anytime I get on a camera or go live or do anything. I just need to tell a story. That's it. Whatever happened in my life, just package it in a story. Because even Les Brown told me one time, he said, never make a point without telling a story. Never tell a story without making a point.
Wow.
And a lot of people just make a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
There's no story around it.
Mm-hmm.
Even IG stories, most people just make posts. They don't connect. There's no story towards the day. So the real amazing people that
my close friends.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I wasn't gonna say nothing about it.
You already know.
People love those type of profiles. People who just tell those stories on CF. That's how Jake Paul blew up. He was vlogging and telling music to your ears. no, that's just
too soon. Okay, but yeah,
he's really good at just showing his life story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people overcomplicate it.
Every single time we took quantum leaps in terms of our net worth as a nation or as a species, it all became because we enhanced our ability to communicate. Like the steamship came along, and then all of a sudden people could communicate better, so all this money got made. Like that's why the East Coast and the West Coast have all of the population, because that's where all the new ideas were coming in. People were connecting. I mean, but you keep on going. You go printing press, you go newspaper, you go, radio, you go, internet. Each time there were these huge booms in our ability to communicate and connect, and therefore that created huge booms in people's finances and people's ability to create wealth for themselves. We're no longer in that agrarian economy where you could never change your fate because crops only come once a year and you work in the rest. Now we're in it where it's like money's getting made constantly because connections are getting made constantly. 6 degrees of separation is over. Now it's probably like 5 or 4, and with that said comes all of these enhanced ways to get paid.
The information and layout could be in front of 10 different people, and 10 different people want to approach it different ways. So it all depends. Yeah, but it's that part hard, man. And then just seeing people just wanting to keep being stuck. It's hard doing that too. I be seeing people that I know that I can help 100%, but they don't even believe in it themselves enough. So I be trying to put my belief on them a little bit, and I've shown that it's possible already. In such a small time frame too. It ain't been on. I started this journey like 3 years ago. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
I knew none of it. I knew not one piece of it. I didn't know not about a business. I didn't know about an investment. I didn't know about a credit score. I had a 400 credit score, no LLC, and I never started a business in my life. 3 years ago. I couldn't talk to y'all about any of the things I'm talking to y'all about.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But
3 years ago.
I've put in so many hours since then, though.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes no sleep. Sometimes 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm talking about learning, executing, getting coaching, getting mentorship, paying to learn, getting consulting, YouTube, whatever the case may be, books. Like, I've been for so long now, so many days, so many hours. I had to master this stuff, and I wasn't going to stop until I did. And I don't think everybody got that mentality, and it's hard to, instill it. Yeah.
I'm the one that you should call when you learn to code. Success follow me around if you didn't know. From the bottom, so the top, the only way to go. Yeah, man, they call me Mr. CTO.